Hello, my name is Eric Kelly. I'm a finance professor at the University of Tennessee, and I'm also a faculty fellow with the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge. This is a third part of an introductory to Excel cases series. And so in this series, I've taken a really basic Excel challenge case that basically involves doing some manipulations with some string of numbers. And I've worked through it in different ways. So in the first video, I just brute force my way through things. So I used fairly standard techniques that most people know. In the second video, I introduced a data table based manner of working through multi-step processes. And so I reworked some of the case using data tables. In this video, I'm going to also rework some of the multi-step processes. But here, instead of a data table, I'm going to use a let function. The let function is a fairly new function in Excel. It's incredibly powerful because it more or less allows you to sort of program or code a multi-step module to do some tasks. All right, so let's take a look at the case. Okay, here we are in the case, and so we've got 10 levels, and you've seen this before, and some of these are already filled in. So I left the single step processes all completely done. So the ones I'm going to redo are these multi-step processes. And so the first one here is in level 3. So in level 3, we're going to take this set of inputs here, so this set of 20 numbers, and we've got to first figure out which ones are odd, and then we want to output the number of odd numbers that we have. So there's two steps here. So this is going to lend itself pretty nicely to a very simple let function. So the way let works, so very briefly, is within let, there's going to be an odd number of parameters. So there's always going to be an odd number of parameters, and before you get to the last parameter, they're going to show up in pairs. And so it's going to be the name of a variable, and then the definition, and then the name, and then the definition, and then the name, and then the definition. You can continue that cycle until you've done everything that you want to do, and then your final parameter is going to be whatever you want to output. And so when I say it's a name of a variable, really you can kind of think of it as single value or maybe an array. And in the definition, you can do some sort of computation or function. And so just to start out, I have a couple of suggestions. And so my first suggestion is, since we want a nice little kind of coding environment, I suggest that you expand your formula bar. Okay, so that way it's going to be really easy to organize our code. And then the second thing, I want to put things in lines within a cell, and you can do that with the Alt Enter. So anytime you want to put a hard return inside a cell, just hit Alt Enter, and you can accomplish that. So let, in my first parameter, I want to gather from this array, I want to gather just the odd values. So I'm going to create something that I'm going to call odds. And the way I'm going to get to odds is by using a filter function. I'm going to filter this array of values. And then I need, as the second parameter of filter, I need to give it some array of trues and falses. And so when a condition is met. And so I'm going to use the is odd function. And I'm going to give it that same array. Okay, so, and just, I'm going to leave a mistake in here right now that we're going to have to correct in just a minute, but let's proceed. For the moment. And so just as an intermediate step, I'm just going to output odds just to see what's going on. Now let's see if this works. Okay, it does not work. The reason this does not work is this is odd function that's inside the filter that doesn't like arrays. And so if I put a plus there inside the parentheses at the beginning of that array reference, it's going to force the isOdd function to operate on that array element by element. All right, so this should work. And if I've coded this correctly in this intermediate step, it's just going to output the array of odd. And it did. Okay, so that's inside my let function. But I want to do much more inside the let. So instead of outputting odds, let's output the count of odds. Output the count of odds. It's just going to count how many numeric values are in odds. There's my answer. So 15. And that is actually correct. Okay. And so that's all I need to do. I'm going to copy that function over, copy the text over, and now I can copy it down. Now I've repeated the process for every game in the level. So let's move now down to level 4. So level 4, the instructions are very similar to level 3. The only difference is instead of counting, we're going to sum. And so let's use the work we've done up here. I'm going to copy this formula, paste it down here. That's wrong because I'm counting instead of summing. I just changed the last command down here, the last or the output to a sum instead of a count. I'm done. Copy that down, and I can move on to the next level. I'm going to skip levels 5 and level 6 because those are single step processes. Go to level 7. So level 7, let's see, what do we need to do here? We need to sum the numbers less than equal to whatever's in this cell. Yeah, so a couple steps. First step, we're going to have to find the, in the example, would be the third smallest value here. Then after that, we need to filter things down, and then finally we'll sum. So we'll go ahead here and space for this one. I want to output some intermediate steps. So equals let. So let's start by defining x small. X small is going to use the small function. There's my list of values. And last parameter is my x. Close my small function, Alt Enter, go to a new line here. Let's just output x small right now, just see if we're working correctly. Okay, so 19, so we got 19, 13, 15. Okay, so that's the third smallest value. Okay. Next step, let's go back into our let function, and let's call the array, the filtered array. We'll just call it filtered. Filtered is going to be filter. What array am I going to filter? Needs to be this array. That's going to be filtered. And I'm going to filter it if the value is less than or equal to what? Well, x small. I can insert the variable name here in the formula and reference it. So let's take a peek at that now. Alt Enter. I'm just going to output filtered. So this array, at least for the example, should only have 3 values in it. And it does. So there's the 3 smallest. So let's go back into the let function now. What do we want to do next? We want to, our instructions, want to sum those numbers. So what I'm going to output? I'm going to output sum of filtered. And there's the sum, 47, and it is correct. So let's copy text of the formula and go back over here. Now, I'm going to be careful with my my hard return. It's going to show up a little bit better if I actually get into that cell with F2. Just copy it over. Now let's copy down. And from there, and I've got all the answers correct here. Level 8 is a lot like level 7. The only difference is I'm going to take that filtered array that I've already created, and I'm just going to concatenate the numbers instead of summing them. Here, I'm going to concatenate with no delimiter. So let's just grab one of these cells here, copy it down. The sum right now, so that's wrong. Make it right, I just need to make this last function a text join, and I want to give it open close parentheses, so that gives it no delimiter, and ignore empty, and still got filtered as the array of interest, and answer is correct. Copy down, and all the answers are correct. Level 9, also very similar. It looks just like level 8, except I need semicolons as delimiters. So let's grab what I had here in level 8, copy it down, jump in here, a semicolon there for the delimiter, copy down, and finished with level 9. Now we move on to our final and most complex level, so level 10. But let's going to help us a lot here too. It's going to take something that's complex and make it pretty simple. So for this one, since it's a little bit different than the other one, so I'm going to start again from scratch and just work through it step by step. So let's think about our steps. So we're going to sum the even numbers. There are 20 numbers that are less than or equal to the third smallest even number. So first thing we need to do is filter this down to get to the even numbers. So get the even numbers first. So let's start with our let here, and I'm going to define an array. It's going to be the evens. And so how am I going to do that? I'm going to, once again, use a filter function. Master array, or the inputs that I want to filter down, is going to be that. How I'm going to filter, I'm going to use the is even function. And remember how is odd did not like arrays, and I had to put a plus in there? Is even does not like arrays either. Plus close quotes, that should end my filter. Alt enter, go to the next line. So let's just check these real quick. So output evens, if we have a list of even numbers, those are all even. So that looks good. Next thing we need to do is figure out the third smallest even number. So we'll call this x small again, and use the small function. The array here is evens, already defined it. And this parameter doesn't change in this level. It's always going to be the third smallest. I'm going to hard code 3 right there. And take a look and see if I've got small even number here. So x small, I'll put that. Okay, 60. So we'll just spot check these, see if we've got a couple of even numbers that are even smaller. So 58 and 26, both smaller than 60. So it looks like that is the third smallest number. Next step, go back to our instructions again. So the set that is less than or equal to the third smallest. Let's go back in here and filter again. So we'll filter, what am I going to filter this time? I'm going to filter evens if evens is less than or equal to x small. And we'll see what that outputs. There's my three smallest even numbers. And then my last step, I believe, is just to sum these. We'll call this the x smallest. And then sum x smallest here. There's our output, 144. That looks good. Copy this, paste it in there. Okay, so we've replicated it. Copy down, and we've got the level mastered. All right, so that's it. So hope you've enjoyed the let function. There's going to be some times when you just want to go brute force. Sometimes data table is going to work better. Sometimes let. Just going to depend on, one, the task at hand, and two, what you get comfortable with. So I encourage you to spend some time practicing all of these. Thanks for watching.